Okay, so the next part of the lower is the trigger guard, and I went with Magpul's. I used the polymer one. I know they make an aluminum one. Don't ask me why I went with a polymer one, other than it's probably cheaper. Anyway, so putting this in, slide it in, put this in here, and you need to drive a punch in there. One of the things, this is kind of one of those vulnerable spots. I'm gonna use a little bit of wood. Sits a little goofy, and so you want to protect this down in here. If you start smacking on it, you got nothing underneath of it. There's the potential that you could break it off. So this is the only bit of wood that I could find that I could do it with nicely. And I'm going to use a little bit of, I don't know if I should use some lube, or I'll use a little grease. I guess I could use some lube. This is a little tricky getting this one in. I had a hell of a time with the last one I did. Alright, see? And again, it would be really nice to have that roll punch holder. Let me get my hammer, a better hammer. I don't want to use my brass hammer all the time, and I will use it if when I get a little closer. See, I think my lube will come off. Yeah. And that will wiggle around a little bit on me, won't it? And that I can stable it a little bit better. Alright, so I got it started. It's going in there. Yeah, it's going in. And I suppose you could use this. There you go. I don't know. It's not real. I could use that. I'm a little nervous using. Okay, so the camera shut off while I was videoing me smacking it in. I ended up switching over from a piece of wood to the vice block and just holding it on there. The tricky part is going to be actually finishing this off and holding it on the block at the same time. I don't want to mar up the metal. It's almost there. Okay, so got it in. And they always end up getting a little bit of a shine to them. And on this side over here, you get to put in the set screw that comes with it. It's got a little yellow, I guess, like Loctite on it or something. You got to use an Allen head screw and pop it in. Yeah, I've never removed one of these, so I wonder how hard it is to actually remove one. I have a Flat Dark Earth, one of these. I don't want to, it's not grabbing. That I want to put on, there you go. Well, this is such a tiny little, see, it's almost gone crooked, but there you go. One of the problems when it gets closer. When you're going into plastic with metal, and if there's a slight little angle difference in it, there you go. Alright, so now you have the enhanced trigger on there. Okay, so I'm going to put the trigger in, and this is actually like my 10th time of doing this. I've had a couple of little issues with the camera, with the lighting, and just a couple of little hiccups along the way. Which is okay, because, you know, the more that you do of these, the better off you are, and you know exactly the procedure and how it's supposed to go. Anyway, with the trigger, this is how the spring is supposed to be set up, and then you have the spring in the back here. Now, I already have the Safety Select installed on here, and with the trigger, And like I said, I've done this so many times now, I'm not going to remove it. It's really easy actually to put the safety select in. And I think I might have a good video clip of that. But when you're putting the trigger in, you want to kind of cock it up and underneath of the, there you go, underneath of the safety select that sits in here. Now, and you've got these other components. You have the hammer and the disconnects here. And then you have these two pins. Show them to you. Two pins. And this is, to me, this is like the trickiest part. You can use an Allen key or a punch to kind of line this up a little bit if you want, and help poke so you can poke through the. Let's sit that there. Little sear goes. That little cutout sits on top of the spring in there. And it's really just a kind of a balancing game if you want to try to get it to balance up in there, measure all up in there. And actually, I might have it. Oh, and the little rods, little grooves, go towards the right side of the rifle. I think I do have it lined up. And the tricky part, like I said, is actually getting the sear lined up. This connect. There you go. And so you can do it with a I can do that with my fingers. You can have a little tiny hammer to tap it in if you have some sort of resistance. And here's the hammer. And the trick with the hammer is that you're going to have some tension on it when you put it in, and it sits in there like this. And so that's like kind of tricky. And then you've got to try to push that pin through. And again, you could use a center punch or an Allen bolt to kind of line it up. And I got it kind of set in there a little bit, a little crooked. And there you go. And remember, you want to have the cutouts on the pin go the other way. There you go. And again, okay, so putting in the safety is pretty easy. You need the spring and the safety detent. If you've already got the trigger in, you want to cock it and you want to pull the trigger back. So yeah, cocking it. Now this is upside down, so hopefully I can do it upside down here. It's pretty easy. This goes in. I'm trying to reach around the camera here. This goes in, and once it's in, then you have it lined straight up and down, and you take the spring, take the detent, excuse me, drop it in, and then put the spring in. I find it easier actually to use the pistol grip and put it in the pistol grip. And there goes my screw. I had it all lined up. And because that's probably another pain in the butt is putting the pistol grip on. And the spring goes in. I don't know if you could see that or not. Down in here, you have to line the spring up with the hole in the handle with the spring and the detent in the lower receiver, and then it goes down on there. And the toughest part is putting the bolt and lining it up in here. Some people actually put tape on the screwdriver and the bolt. I don't know if I like that approach. You can buy some specialized screwdrivers that have like a grabbing edge on it, but I don't have one. What I do is I try to put it in there first and then put the spring in. It's always good to have extra parts just in case you do what I just did, which was drop something. All so that's in. Now, one of the tricks I do is I always go a little bit backwards with the screw, because one of the things you don't want to do is cross thread it. And there it's lined in, and then you just tighten it up. I don't know if you can see that or not. Because if you cross thread it, you've really jacked up your lower receiver, and your receivers, unless you can re-tap it, will be screwed up. That is not what you want. So you got to keep pressure on the grip, keeping that spring in place for the safety select and the D10, and then screw this in. You know what's interesting though, now this is a Magpul handle, and the original original handles that come from the manufacturers have shorter bolts and include a washer on there. And Magpul doesn't do that. Magpul doesn't do that, and I don't know why. All right, and then so this finishing touch, and there you go. And the safety select works. And you can, I'm going to test it upside down, but, and it's on fire, and there you go. And okay, so there is the finished product here. The AR-15 pistol build with Troy Industries Free Float, Magpul's MOE pistol grip, and trigger guard with the Phase 5 pistol buffer tube, and I don't know if you can see it in there, Noveski's QD quick detach. I do have the Magpul front and rear MBUS sights. I did get a UTG riser, the high one, and I have the Bushnell's red dot. After spending so much money on this, I didn't really have a lot of money left for the optics. Don't get me wrong, I mean, I really wouldn't mind a nice red dot on it, but I really like this. I think it does an appropriate model. I have the Aero lower, the Aero upper. I have DPMS's trigger hammer bolt carrier group in it, and then I have the Noveski's flash hider, which I'm kind of excited to try that out. I also have I think it's a Yankee Hill gas block, DPMS gas tube, and then the barrel is a Mass Defense barrel. So I'm going to take it to the range and see how it does.